Hello, my name is April and welcome to the Yoga Ranger Studio and welcome to your practice today. Our practice today is a very special request from someone for a practice that I've actually been thinking about quite a lot. I had both of my children and they are a little bit older now, but my first child I did not have any yoga with, and it was a little bit of a struggle to recover, and it's also a little bit more difficult pregnancy. With my second child, my son, I did actually do yoga, and it was longer hold yoga. I don't think they called it yin at that time, but it kind of was, because when you're 7 or 8 months pregnant, you don't move very fast and you kind of hold a little bit longer and a little bit more support. So my recovery was much faster with my second child after using yoga with a little bit longer holds to help me kind of get back on my feet after, so postnatal. So just a couple of props you will need for this practice. A cat with his banana, if you have one of those. A blanket underneath if that's comfortable for you, or you can live without this. A second blanket, which I'm sitting on, which is folded up, just if you need a little extra support and props. And definitely a bolster or some pillows off of your bed or off of your sofa. So just a couple of things to keep in mind. During your pregnancy, you have a lot of relaxin running through your body, and that's helping sort of literally relax all your joints and your body. So you have a little bit more looseness and opening in your joints. Because of that, you don't want to go as far as you normally would go and really kind of push that edge or explore that edge that we normally explore in yin. And you want to kind of back off just a little bit from that, just to help kind of avoid overstretching and also injuring the joint tissue. You'll kind of notice that after you have your baby that you feel a little bit kind of some things happening there as things start to kind of go back into place. So taking good care of it now is a great practice to keep in mind and becoming more aware. So banana aside, we're going to start with butterfly pose, taking the bottoms of the feet together. This is the newest baby I have. I just collect cats now. So in using our bolster, if you feel perfectly comfortable not using a bolster in this pose and you have space, that's okay. But you're going to take your feet further out. This is going to give you a little bit more space for baby. So leaning forward, you can take yourself down to where you want to. You can rest your hands on the bolster. You don't have to use the bolster. Or if you have more mobility, you can take that bolster out further and relax down further. So kind of find what works for you. Keeping that space that you have. Now in this practice, because I wanted to make this practice available to all trimesters, 1st through 3rd, we're not going to have any poses that are on our back, and we're also not going to have any twists in this practice. Some trimesters, it is suggested that you don't twist and you don't lay on your back as long, so we're going to kind of stay away from those. Take a few moments here to settle into your breath. And connecting to that 3-part breath. Inhaling deeply, filling the belly, chest, collarbones. And exhaling collarbones, chest, belly. Sometimes that can be hard when you have a baby in the way, but think about expanding out to the sides too, and into the lower back. Filling the space of the back and the side body, and that'll give you a little bit more room to breathe. Yin is a wonderful practice, particularly for when you are pregnant, simply because you can allow this time to kind of turn in, really sensing all the amazing changes that are happening every moment in your body, connecting to those changes, and becoming more comfortable with some of those changes. Beginning to listen to your body more. And also kind of becoming quiet in a world that goes way too fast. Connecting to your baby. Remembering to pull back just a little bit from that normal edge. And even though you feel like you can go a little bit deeper, and you probably could push a little bit further because relaxin is helping you get there, just avoiding damage and injury to those tissues by coming up just a little bit more, using the bolster props to help support you. We're not going to be holding our poses quite as long as we normally would, simply because during pregnancy we want to pull back just a little bit from the length holds. So maybe holding them 2 or 3 minutes versus 4 or 5. Just about 2 more deep breaths. Taking your hands and very slowly starting to press up. Taking that bolster off to the side. My baby went to sleep. You can even do this practice when you have your baby. Your baby can fit off to the side too. You can always practice yin around your children. They tend to actually like the serenity of the experience. Take your hands behind, maybe wiggle your knees a little bit. Then we're going to take deer pose next. So go ahead and take that right leg, shift it back behind you, bend the knee. You can have the foot out into a flexed position, or you can have it into a stretched out position where the toes are stretched out behind you. You might find that with a regular yin practice during your pregnancy, your baby will become a little bit calmer and you will become a little bit calmer, and both of you will probably have a bit more of a schedule that works for you. I know that my daughter used to jump up and down at like 11 p.m. or 2 o'clock in the morning. My son was much quieter because we did yoga. Keeping in mind that during your pregnancy, you may not feel these poses quite as much, and that's okay. They're still working. You're still getting that kind of serene feeling. You're still working with connective tissue. You're still activating meridians and balancing them. So don't worry about feeling a huge amount. Relaxin makes everything softer, so you may not feel as much. Just about another minute here in deer pose. And gently leaning a little bit over to your left side, bring that right leg back around, maybe bring the feet flat, rock those knees a little bit side to side. Then we're going to switch sides. Come back into that butterfly position, take that left leg back around behind you. Here's your banana. There. Sit up nice and tall. Remember, you don't have to go back as far. You can bring that knee in a little bit closer if that feels better for you. One hand to the inside, one hand to the outside, giving you a little bit of prop so you're a little bit more upright. Here you can begin to sense the differences in your body, left and right. You can begin to sense a little bit of that relaxant in there as well, because you sort of feel how maybe you are a little bit more open, a little bit looser, a little bit more space. Just about one more minute, sensing any tension you may be holding in the hip flexors, in the front and back of the leg, just softening into those spaces, letting the muscles release. Last deep inhale and exhale. Leaning a little bit over to the right this time. Slowly bringing that left leg back in. Bottoms of the feet flat, just rock those knees side to side. Our next pose we're going to take is Dragonfly, but we're going to take a half a dragonfly. So bringing that right leg in, left leg out. You're going to take the bolster next to that left leg. So kind of find what works for you. If your knees really hurt in this pose, you can take that foot out a little bit further. You can even just take full dragonfly if that feels better. Take sort of a lateral version of this. So go ahead and turn towards your right, lean over towards your left. You can rest your elbow arm. If you have more mobility, you could rest your body on that bolster, or you could tilt it up to give you a little bit more height to lounge sideways. Take that right hand either to your lower back or out to the knee or a little bit behind you. You can keep a little bend in that left knee, letting it soften. Feeling that leg soften, maybe it begins to straighten out a little bit more. Maybe it stays a little bit bent, it doesn't really matter there. Starting to bring that right hand back around and come back to center. We're going to move that bolster over to the side. Other side, right? Stretch it out a little bit lengthwise. Start to lean over to that side and just stretch out. I feel that sort of a counter stretch feels kind of good here. If you want a little bit more underarm stretch, you can take that Left arm up and over. My baby is occasionally young and foolish and tries to jump into a mirror. Take that left arm back alongside the hip. Press yourself back up. Take that right foot out first. Reach underneath and inside that left foot. Bring it flat. Rock side to side. And then we're going to switch sides. Take that leg in. Once again, if this is the knee that causes you problems, go ahead and take that foot a little bit further out or take the legs out straight if that feels better for you. Here again, you can roll that bolster up higher or not. Turn yourself toward the left, lean over to the right. Tuck that hand around behind you. Keep that knee bent and keep it soft, your toes soft. Connecting with your breath, checking in how this side may be different than the first side. In the stillness of Yin, you can pay attention to a lot of things that get sort of lost along the way. Messages from your body, messages from your mind, messages from your baby. Maybe you'll start to kind of feel some things that you didn't even notice, like hiccups or little flips. Little feet moving around. Slowly start to take that hand back around, come back to center. Move your bolster over to the other side if you don't have a cat in the way. Just lean over. Here again, if you want to take that right arm up and over, stretch, a little arc in the right side of the body. Take that right arm back alongside the hip. Slowly press yourself up. Take that left foot out. Reach inside that right knee. Bring the feet flat, rock them side to side. Take them as wide as you need them to go. Our next pose is going to be Swan. So I always like to take a blanket underneath my knees because knees get sore and heavy. Take our bolster out in front. We're going to take that right knee out in front first. Left knee back behind you. We're going to start with Swan upright. So taking your hands onto the bolster, that's going to give you a nice little back bend here. Softening the gaze, softening the hips, letting everything just kind of sink down. Now, depending on where you were at in your pregnancy, you can either take this bolster out after a minute or so when we come down, or you can use it to give yourself a little prop so you have a little space for baby underneath. I know that with my son, there was a lot of baby out in front, so I needed a lot of space. Feel everything kind of sink down. Nice activation for the back, the lower back, giving you a little opening in the chest and shoulders, and balancing the bladder meridian as well as the kidney meridian on this right leg. Connecting with your breath again here. Thinking about taking that 3-part breath with samavriti, what we call same length. Maybe inhaling for 6, exhaling for 6, and beginning to extend that a little bit more. Inhaling for 7, exhaling for 7. Seeing how that feels. It's a great breath practice to get into for labor, helping prepare your body and actually help calm you while you are in labor. Just 2 more deep breaths here and we'll lower down into Sleeping Swan. And then starting to shift that bolster out a little bit further away from you. So you can rest your forearms down or your forehead down or whatever you would like to do. You can even rest all the way down if you feel good about that. Come to whatever you need to. If you feel comfortable bringing your elbows all the way to the floor, feel free to do that, or your fingertips to the floor. Thinking about maybe lengthening the spine just a little bit more, and then letting the hips soften toward the floor, the belly soften toward the floor. Just about 3 more deep breaths here. Working with that same length breath. next inhale, lift your head, press back up, maybe onto fingertips for a little swan here, and then palms underneath. Slowly step back. You can come into downward facing dog or child's pose, whatever feels most appropriate for you. Taking your feet wide, maybe walking your dog out, rocking your hips side to side may feel good as well. And then coming back down, we're going to shift sides. Taking that left knee out in front, right knee on your prop if you need to. Bringing that bolster in a little bit closer for our swan. Bring the palms down, letting the belly soften, chest soften forward. Noticing if in this pose your breath changes a little bit. It's a little bit more difficult to follow that breath. Breathing into that. Last deep inhale and exhale. Start to come down. Shift that bolster out a little bit further in ahead of you, or come all the way down to the floor if that's where you're at. Find what works on this side. Perhaps you have more opening or space on this side. You can come down a little bit further. Think about lengthening the spine just a little bit and then allowing the hips to soften toward the floor as well. Here again, noticing the breath, noticing where you feel this in your body. If you practice Yin throughout your pregnancy, you will notice the changes much more distinctly. You'll notice when things change and when you have big growth spurts, big developmental markers. You'll kind of feel that in your practice. You'll notice it more in your breath and in your body. I always felt that was one of the most wonderful things about yoga while you were pregnant, is becoming more connected to those changes and noticing every single little tiny detail of it. It becomes such a special experience. If you're someone who journals, you might enjoy writing down all those little changes. Last 2 deep breaths. And your next inhale, lifting up onto the fingertips, little swan pose here, and then palms underneath, shifting back to downward facing dog or child's pose, your choice here. Here again, taking your feet as wide as you need them to be, rocking the hips side to side, bending the knees and stretching out, shaking your head out yes and no. And then coming down onto your knees, shifting around for tadpole. So taking your blanket off to the side. Now, depending on where you are in your pregnancy, you might need the bolster underneath your forehead or chest. You want to give yourself lots of space here, but if you don't have a problem with that, you can come all the way down. Tadpole is a really wide child's pose with the feet out a little bit. So you can rest your forehead on that bolster if you need to, or even your forearms if you need a little bit more space. And this feels better for you. If you feel comfortable shifting forward into more of a frog pose, you can take that frog pose using the bolster, turning the feet out and coming into frog, or stay in tadpole pose or somewhere in between those two. We're just going to be here for a couple of minutes. Remember, not going to your absolute limit, a little bit somewhere short of that. Connecting with your breath again here. Every pose has sensations that are changing and shifting. And as the pose progresses, as your practice progresses, you will feel different things. And your baby may respond in kind. You never know what they will or will not like or how they will act in different poses and different situations. If you are in frog pose, go ahead and start to walk those knees in a little bit closer. Begin to bring the toes together, shift back in a child's pose for a few breaths here. Arms on that bolster stretched out if you want to. Coming up, unwinding yourself here. We're going to take that bolster out in front again. Bring our blanket back across. We're going to come into a low dragon. So taking that right foot out in front of us, walking it out, walking that left foot back. Drop the knee down. I'm going to use your bolster as a little bit of support here. So you can always take your hands, put that bolster on top of your foot, take your hands on that, or come down to your forearms if that's available to you. It is not for me today, so I'm going to stay where I'm at. If you want to, you can even take that bolster a little higher, maybe put your elbows on it. Remember to take that right knee as wide as you need to make space for baby. That may mean walking a little bit wider out and maybe even dropping the knee out just a little bit. Just one more minute here. Starting to walk your hands back up, stepping them back towards you, shifting back. Maybe taking downward facing dog or child's pose just for a couple of breaths. And then coming down, shifting sides. Left leg out in front, fingertips down onto the bolster to give you a little length here. Lift that back knee off. Here again, placing that bolster on top of at whatever height you need it to be. Here again, if you need to, walking that foot a little bit wider and dropping the knee out to the side so you have space. Softening the shoulders down the back, lengthening the spine, letting the hips just soften toward the floor. Using props allows us to relax a little bit more deeply into it, pay a little bit more attention to our breath, and become more aware of how our body is feeling and experiencing these poses. During pregnancy, it provides you a little bit of lift so you have more space. So as your pregnancy progresses, you may need a little bit more room between you and the floor. A bolster can help you do that. Gently start to press yourself back up. Lean back, step back into downward facing dog. Walk your dog out. And if you like, you can come down onto that blanket with your knees. Take your knees wide, big toes together. We're going to come into child's pose. We're going to have a little bit of a twisted ropes with that. So twisted ropes is tucking arms underneath. So you want to use that bolster to give you a little bit of support here. You can take that right arm closest to your body, left arm a little bit away. And walk those hands as much as you can over to the left and right. Rest your forehead on the bolster. Palms facing up. We definitely want to work with the hips in this practice, but our upper body needs a little opening as well. So this will help open the upper body and soften the shoulders. Let everything sort of melt toward the floor. Coming back to that 6 or 7 or 8 count inhale and exhale. Feeling the back body, front body, side body. Sometimes during your pregnancy you find you are a little breathless because baby has moved into a position that's hard for you to breathe. So finding that breath in other places, like the side body and the back body, can be really helpful. feel comfortable lowering your head all the way down to the floor, you can always take it all the way to the floor for our last minute here. Gently start to press into your hands and kind of slide those arms back up. You're going to switch the crossing. So right is going to go underneath, closest to the body. Right is going to go out in front, and left is going to go behind. Cross them back out. Walk the hands back out. Lower your head back down. Here again for this last minute, if you feel you want to take your forehead down lower, please go ahead and take it where you feel most comfortable. Start to wiggle your fingers, press into the backs of your hands, and slide your hands back up. And just come on to hands and knees. A little cat-cow here, taking the knees wide. It's great for the spine. It helps stimulate the spine and keep it mobile and strong and comfortable. Coming back to center, we're going to take a side lying Shavasana. So we're going to take our blanket to the top, our bolster over to the side. And we're going to lie on our left side. So it's best to lie on your left side when you are pregnant. And usually as you reach toward the end of your pregnancy, you're going to want to lie not on your back. So we're going to take it where you can take that bolster, left leg straight, right leg over the top. You can curl your arms in and just rest your head on that blanket. Relax and breathe. Now, if you have a little bit bigger belly as you progress in your pregnancy, you can take that bolster out a little bit further, give you more space here. It'll still give you the support that you need for your knee. A little bit of room for baby. Notice your body and your breath changes during the practice for you and your baby. If you have more time to spend in Shavasana, spend as much time as you want here with all the support that you have. But if this is what you have in time, go ahead and start to slide that right leg off the bolster. Gently take your right hand underneath and press yourself back up to center. Take your bolster, so you have a little prop to sit on. We're going to do a little meditation here at the end. So find what seat's most comfortable for you. Take one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. Feel that connection between you and your pregnancy and your baby. Really listening to your body and all the things it has to tell you as it changes. Going back to those 6 or 7 or 8 count inhales and exhales. Letting go of the breath and letting your hands fall down to the floor. On an inhale, sweep the hands all the way up overhead. Open your eyes, exhale, hands to heart. Peace and namaste. Thank you so much for sharing this very special practice with me. I want to send a shout out to all of you who are practicing with me that are pregnant. Congratulations. This is an amazing time in your life. Try to take time out for yin or yoga practice and kind of connect with that peacefulness and really notice all these amazing things that are going on in your body, all the changes, all the sensations that change, because it is a one of a kind. Literally, your pregnancy is completely unique to you. So experience it for yourself, because even if you have more children, the pregnancies will never be the same. I can tell you right now, they're completely different. And no one can tell you a story of what their experience was like and it will make sense to you, because yours is unique and special to you. So enjoy this time and experience it, this once in a lifetime experience. It is unique to you. Also, use as many props as you can or you need to as your pregnancy progresses. At the beginning, you may not need as many props. If you do, still use those. But as you progress in your pregnancy, you may find that a little bit more support, giving you a little bit more space, can be really helpful in your practice and really help you relax and soften, because it gets a little bit harder to relax and release toward the end of the pregnancy. The 8th and 9th month get a little bit more of a struggle to just soften and get some peace and rest. So take that time for yourself and practice a little self-care, a little self-love, a little hug from me and my kitten baby, who's conked out asleep over there, to you. Congratulations. If you liked this practice, please like and comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts. If you're not a subscriber, please click that subscribe button over here to your right. I upload a new video every Thursday morning. And if you would like to join me for more practices, you can join me at the yogaranger.vhx.tv, a new member community that I have. Exclusive videos there with lots of extras, live monthly calls, a Facebook community forum, as well as a community forum on that site, as well as lots of little extra features on there just to get to know you better and connect with you a little bit more and experience a little bit more of nourishing mind, body, and soul practices of every kind: flow, meditation, hatha, myofascial release, yin, of course, and restorative. So I hope to see you there. Have a great day.